you really put a price on something like a home? I mean, something so significant. We often just, jump to the numbers, the spreadsheets, square footage, recent sales. But what if there's something else? Something invisible almost. A hidden factor shaping its worth. Today, we're going to dig into property valuation. Specifically, we're looking at comparable properties, comps, as they call them.
Right. And for this deep dive, we're leaning heavily on a really interesting article by Barry LeBeau. It's called The Human Factor in Property Valuation. And just as a practical note mentioned right at the end of LeBeau's piece, there's a reference to Mandeep Tour and OMAXE Real Estate, Inc.
Okay, so our mission today, it's really to unpack the usual science of valuing a property. And maybe reveal the art that's often missed, that human factor. We want to help you understand what really makes one property comparable to another, beyond just, the stats. So let's start right there. What are these comparable properties that everyone talks about? You've definitely heard the term comps if you've ever thought about buying or selling, right? Maybe you have a basic idea, but what's the, textbook definition? Can you almost picture that checklist?
Oh, absolutely. The traditional approach is very, very structured. It has to be, really, for that apples to apples comparison. Your standard checklist usually covers things like architectural style. You want a similar design. Age is a big one. Homes built around the same time. They often share similar systems, layouts, maybe even potential upkeep issues.
Right, like plumbing or wiring from the same era.
Exactly. Then location. And this isn't just the city, it's ideally the same neighborhood. Maybe even the same block, if you can find it.
Super specific.
It's very specific. And market conditions are crucial too. The sales you're comparing, they need to have happened in a similar economic climate. You can't really compare a boom time sale to one in a downturn.
Makes sense.
And finally, the obvious ones. Size and features. Square footage, number of beds and baths, lot size, maybe a garage, a pool, all those physical things. These criteria, they're really seen as essential. They create that level playing field we talked about. You're trying to make sure the product, the house, and the community context are as consistent as possible. It's all about that, technical rigor. That's the foundation.
Okay, that foundation sounds solid. Necessary, even. But here's where it gets really interesting, based on the sources. It seems there's this other element, something the traditional models don't always capture. Something that can, mess with the numbers.
Yes. It's the piece that doesn't quite fit neatly onto that spreadsheet. The invisible force, you could say. It's us, human beings. Our behavior, our motivations, our emotions.
The people part.
Exactly. Real estate isn't just bricks and mortar and interest rates. It's fundamentally about people making huge life decisions. And LeBeau points out a really key question, one that's often sort of underappreciated when picking comps. Is the price range within the buying power of the target market?
Okay. What does that mean exactly?
It means you have to think about who the typical buyer for this specific house is and what they can realistically afford. Not just the theoretical value based on similar houses, but who can actually buy it.
Right. And Barry LeBeau, the author we mentioned, he apparently wished he had unlimited funds just to sit down and interview buyers to really get inside their heads about why they chose one house over another, beyond the obvious stuff.
He did. Well, something very much like that. There's this great anecdote in the source. It was during the urea formaldehyde foam insulation controversy, UFFI for short.
UFFI, I remember hearing about that. That caused quite a stir, didn't it? Health concerns? Stigma?
Huge stir. It really impacted property values. So as people started buying these homes despite the UFFI issue, LeBeau actually interviewed about 100 of them. And his goal wasn't just, what did you buy, but why? Why this house with this known issue?
And what did he find? Was it all about getting a bargain?
Sometimes price was a factor, sure, but fascinatingly, the answers were rarely just about price or the size or even the location in isolation. People talked about family needs, about their aspirations, sometimes about their fears, maybe needing to be in a certain school district or close to relatives, and sometimes it was just a gut feeling. The place felt right.
A gut feeling? But appraisals are supposed to be objective, right, based on facts. Why do these emotions matter so much in the actual valuation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Traditional appraisal methods, they aren't really set up to measure emotional levels. How could they be? But these feelings, they can absolutely influence what someone is willing to pay. Think about it yourself. Have you ever walked into a place and it just felt right?
Oh, for sure. Or the opposite. Walked in and immediately felt, nope, not for me. Even if it ticked all the boxes on paper.
Exactly. That home that feels right might genuinely command a premium. Someone connects with it emotionally and is willing to pay more. And conversely, a property with some kind of stigma, like the UFFI homes back then, might sell for less, even if it meets all the technical comp criteria otherwise.
So things like school districts, that's often emotional, tied to kids' futures.
Absolutely. School districts, being close to family, the reputation of the neighborhood, even something as simple as the color of the front door can trigger an emotional response in a buyer. And sellers have emotions too, right? Sentimental attachment can make them hold out for a higher price, or maybe a divorce or job loss forces a quick sale at a lower price.
Life events.
Yeah. These human factors, they're messy, they're hard to put a number on, but they are absolutely real and they definitely move the market. So the really fascinating part here is, okay, how do we bridge that gap? How do we connect the technical stuff with, the human stuff?
Right. If we accept that this human factor is a real force, it kind of changes the game for realtors and appraisers, doesn't it? They need to ask different questions, maybe. Go beyond that standard checklist.
I think so. It becomes less about just data entry and more about understanding the story.
So questions like, who are the most likely buyers for this specific property? Not just buyers in general.
Yes. And what's their actual financial situation, their buying power, but also what really motivates them. Is it schools, commute, a feeling of safety, a certain lifestyle?
What emotional factors might be swirling around for both buyers and the seller?
Definitely. Are there stories about the property itself, maybe a unique history or even a negative event associated with it that could add or subtract value in a buyer's mind?
And looking at recent sales, not just the price, but how they sold. Did a bidding war happen over some unique feature people loved?
Or did a seemingly good house just sit there for ages because something about it felt off to people? Recognizing those patterns, that's the art.
It's like developing an intuition for the market's psychology, not just its stats.
That's a great way to put it. It's about combining that rigorous technical analysis, the science, with a deeper understanding of human behavior, the art. And when professionals do that, they can offer guidance that's much more accurate, more nuanced, and frankly, more valuable to their clients.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what's the big takeaway for you, the listener? I think the core message is pretty clear. Property valuation, it's both. It's a science and it's an art.
Yeah. Behind every transaction, every sale price, there's a human story. Hopes, fears, dreams, practical needs. It's all in there. And the most effective people in real estate, they get that. They acknowledge the technical side and those powerful emotional currents.
So whether you're buying, selling, or just watching the market, maybe try looking at it through that blended lens. Consider both sides.
And just to circle back to that practical mention in the source material by LeBeau, it notes at the end, for free evaluation of your property, call Mandeep Tour at OMAXE Real Estate Inc. We are here to serve. So that option exists.
Right. So here's something to think about. How might recognizing this human factor, the hidden emotions and stories tucked away behind the numbers, how might that change how you view other big decisions or even investments in your own life?